Welcome back to the deep dive. If you thought the holidays meant a slowdown in the AI space, think again.
Not at all. It was a dense week.
It really was. We dug into a big stack of sources this week. We're talking financial reports, technical papers, corporate blogs.
And what we found wasn't some, shiny new GPT model announcement.
No, it was something arguably more important, a massive pivotal shift towards strategic maturity.
That's the clear takeaway from this week's data. OpenAI is fundamentally transitioning from, let's say, a cutting-edge research lab to a global infrastructure giant.
And that's our mission today, to break down the three fundamental pillars of that transition for you.
Exactly. First, the colossal capital required for the next generation of AI. Second, the practical, messy hurdles of actually building that compute infrastructure.
And finally, the emerging legal and scientific framework needed to make sure model integrity and, crucially, user privacy can keep pace with that scale. Okay, let's unpack this and give you the headlines. The week started with, well, financial gravity. SoftBank's $41 billion investment is officially finalized. That secures the company's enormous war chest.
But then, almost immediately, that massive Stargate infrastructure build-out hits a major delay.
A crucial lesson in the physics of scale.
At the same time, on the research front, we saw academics tackling one of the dumbest questions in AI.
How do you measure a model's internal conviction? Its intellectual belief.
Using a cognitive physics framework, no less. And finally, a U.S. court case set a major and I think critically important legal precedent for user data privacy.
One that changes the calculus for every single person using ChatGPT.
It really does.
And that brings us right into the research segment. Academics are really digging deep into how well OpenAI models know what they know.
The most fascinating piece here for me was Project Alethea.
This cognitive physics framework designed to quantify a model's deep belief. They're calling it cognitive conviction.
It sounds incredibly dense, and it is, but the implication for measuring integrity is just massive.
So what's the core idea?
Well, for too long, standard AI evaluation just measures what a model knows, sort of its IQ.
Right.
Project Alethea is trying to solve what they call the epistemological crisis in AI evaluation by measuring the depth of its conviction.
So are they trying to find out if the model is just being a sycophant?
Yeah.
Just telling the user what it thinks they want to hear?
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
They want to know if it's just pleasing the user rather than maintaining its own internally established ground truth.
Which is a known failure mode in these conversational models. So they use the advanced OpenAI O1 model as a baseline. How did they actually quantify this conviction?
They introduced a key metric called the Calibrated Forensic Evidence Coefficient, or FEC-CO.
Okay.
Think of it this way. The coefficient tells you how much internal evidence the model has to support its answer, independent of the external pressure from the prompt. It's an evaluation of what they call epistemic sovereignty.
The model's internal authority over its own knowledge.
Precisely.
And what did the O1 model demonstrate?
The results were strong. OpenAI O1 achieved a high FEC-CO of 0.92 in complex mathematical tasks.
And a score that high means what, exactly?
It's a strong indicator of that epistemological sovereignty. It means the model maintained its internal ground truth, even when researchers tried to pressure it with prompts designed to mislead it.
So on difficult, non-subjective tasks, O1 possesses high integrity.
That's the conclusion.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it sounds like researchers are moving from just observing the model's behavior, what it outputs, to measuring the physics of its internal processing.
That's precisely the shift. The researchers are treating the AI's bias or its tendency to please not as a moral failing, but as a physical property of the measurement channel.
Almost like atmospheric distortion on a telescope that obscures the true light.
Great analogy. And to filter out that distortion, they apply something called Tikhonov regularization, a mathematical technique borrowed from fields like quantum computing.
Which acts like a sophisticated digital cleaner.
Right. It filters the static of sycophancy to reveal the true signal of conviction. This is a monumental step toward ensuring scientific reliability in these frontier models.
Speaking of real-world applications and reliability, we also saw a paper in quantitative finance. It evaluated how LLMs perform in building investment portfolios.
Yes, and this provided a necessary reality check.
How so?
The study found that LLM-generated portfolios really struggled to adapt during volatile market conditions. This highlights a clear reliability concern.
So the models might be over-relying on patterns from their training data, and they fail when things get unpredictable.
Exactly, when high volatility environments require genuine novelty or adaptation.
So in extreme stress tests, the models are still found wanting. But there was an important mitigation, wasn't there?
Absolutely. They found that performance improved drastically when the model's initial stock selections were combined with traditional quantitative optimization techniques.
So the sweet spot is a hybrid framework. The LRM acts as a sophisticated researcher, but not the final decision maker.
That's the idea.
Okay, now, let's pivot away from finance and into the creative world, specifically music, where efficiency is the big story.
We have external researchers comparing a new ultra-lightweight model called Samuel against OpenAI's Jukebox.
And this is where we see architectural innovation really challenging brute force scale.
It really is. Samuel, despite being truly tiny, it has only 15 million parameters, managed to outperform the massive Jukebox model
On what metrics?
on two critical qualitative metrics: production quality and content unity.
And the efficiency gains here are just staggering. The paper says it is 333 times smaller in parameters and 52 times faster in inference speed.
It's a huge deal. It signals that architectural breakthroughs can democratize capabilities that were previously locked behind immense compute walls.
Which is critical, right? It makes complex generative tasks viable on consumer hardware, on mobile devices.
Or in specialized creative studios that just can't afford a server farm.
So the Samuel breakthrough shows efficiency can beat brute scale in some creative domains. But speaking of sheer, undeniable scale, let's look at how OpenAI is changing how its AI acts in the real world.
Okay.
Moving now from research papers to the product roadmap. This week solidified a strategic shift from a reactive chatbot to a proactive, autonomous platform.
And the biggest signal of this pivot is the consolidation of teams for a new audio model architecture, slated for release in the first quarter of 2026.
Targeting the end of March. This is clearly tied to their consumer hardware ambitions, right? Specifically the collaboration with Jony Ive.
It has to be. The goal isn't just better sound, it's about more natural-sounding speech and handling real-time back-and-forth interactions.
It's all about enabling that seamless voice-first future where the AI feels like a true conversational partner.
And structurally, we saw the formal transition of ChatGPT into a universal application platform. They're calling it the app directory.
So this is moving beyond the old GPT store concept.
Right, which was mostly just customized instruction sets living inside the chat environment.
Now we are talking about actual interactive multi-app workflows. What's the technology that enables this?
It relies on something called the Model Context Protocol. Think of it as a digital handshake that lets one third-party service talk to another right in the middle of your chat.
So instead of being limited to one service at a time, you can chain actions together.
Yes. You could type something like, at Expedia, find a flight to London, and at DoorDash, order a pizza for my arrival, within a single conversation, and the AI manages the handoffs.
It's turning ChatGPT into an operating system for actions.
And that idea is amplified by the launch of Tasks in Pulse for ChatGPT Pro users. This is where the proactive strategy really crystallizes.
This feels like a major step. Tasks in Pulse allows the AI to execute scheduled or triggered workflows without needing an immediate prompt from the user.
Exactly. It stops being a digital dog you have to continuously tell to fetch and starts becoming a house manager who acts on standing orders.
The AI stops being a reactive tool and becomes a proactive employee.
That's the goal.
Can you give us a concrete example of that?
Sure. Think about persistent agentic memory. You could set a task for the AI to monitor my Slack and email for project updates every night at 2 a.m. and have a summary ready in my Pulse feed by 7 a.m.
And the system executes that while you're offline.
Correct. This capability fundamentally transforms the user relationship and drives deeper integration into professional life.
All of this, though, the proactive agents, the app directory, the voice-first devices, it requires a gargantuan amount of compute.
It does, which brings us to infrastructure.
And this week, we got a big reality check on what it takes to actually build the foundation for AGI.
Indeed. The news broke that the completion date for some Oracle data centers supporting OpenAI's 5.5 gigawatt capacity partnership, well, it was delayed.
This is part of the massive Stargate project.
Yes, and instead of a 2027 completion, those facilities are now slated for 2028.
The scale is just almost unimaginable. They're aiming for a total of 7 gigawatts of planned capacity.
And to put that in perspective for you, 7 gigawatts is roughly the power required to run a small U.S. state.
Or several million homes. What does a one-year delay signify strategically?
It's a sobering reminder. Even with $41 billion in the bank, you can't just bypass real-world physics and logistics.
This isn't a software problem you can patch with a commit.
No, it's a construction, real estate, and energy problem. It underscores the huge logistical hurdles involved, and it'll probably temper some of the hype around their model rollout schedules.
Which could give competitors a crucial window to catch up.
Potentially, yes.
That delayed reliance on a single partner, even one as big as Oracle, emphasizes the need for resilience.
And we immediately saw a tactical response to that this week with the diversification of their cloud providers.
Right. Reports confirm that OpenAI has added Google Cloud Platform, or GCP, as a new cloud provider for ChatGPT and its APIs in some regions.
This is a strategic move away from relying almost exclusively on Microsoft Azure.
So it's fundamentally a multi-cloud resilience strategy. Keep services up even if one provider has an issue.
That's the primary benefit, yes. But the real impact here is the leverage it gives them in future contract negotiations.
It injects a degree of healthy competition.
It does. It signals to Microsoft that while they are a core partner, OpenAI is building its own path to compute independence.
Okay, let's shift now to the essential, non-technical elements of scaling. Safety, policy, and legal scrutiny.
Right.
OpenAI is scaling its internal safety focus right alongside its compute. They announced a search for a new Head of Preparedness.
This is a very high-stakes role with a significant salary, $555,000 annually, plus substantial equity. It's focused explicitly on mitigating emerging AI risks.
It shows a real institutional focus on safety engineering at the highest level.
And the CEO, Sam Altman, was quite candid about why they need this role.
What did he say?
He stated that AI models are starting to present some real challenges. He specifically cited systems becoming so good at things like computer security that they can find critical vulnerabilities faster than humans can fix them.
So this search reinforces that structural focus on making sure their capabilities don't outpace their safety measures.
Especially concerning national security.
Separately, we also saw a policy change that affects every single consumer using their services.
That's the updated terms of use, effective January 1st, 2026. It introduced mandatory binding arbitration for disputes related to services like ChatGPT and DLE.
So for all global users, this pushes conflicts out of public courtrooms and into a private regulated process.
Correct. It streamlines dispute resolution.
And finally, the week brought a significant legal precedent regarding data privacy.
This is the big one, the loss of a court fight over ChatGPT user logs. This is where that legal reality clashes directly with the proactive AI vision.
A critical development. News organizations won a court fight granting them access to 20 million ChatGPT user logs that the company had fought hard to keep private.
And the court found that even user interactions intended to be private or that were subsequently deleted could be legally compelled as evidence in litigation.
So this establishes a crucial legal precedent. The conversational data you generate today, even in a chat you think is private, can be legally accessed and used tomorrow.
It fundamentally alters the definition of privacy in the age of conversational AI. It raises the stakes for that proactive assistant we were just talking about.
Right. If the AI is going to manage your email and summarize private meetings, as Tasks in Pulse suggests.
And all of that intensely personal data is now subject to legal scrutiny and discovery processes.
Speaking of money and scale, let's wrap up with funding and commercial momentum. The core story here is simple. OpenAI is exceptionally well capitalized.
Exceptionally.
Yeah.
SoftBank Group completed the final investment tranche of $22.5 billion, finalizing its commitment.
Which gives them what in total?
A staggering $41 billion in total aggregate funding. This solidifies their position as one of the most capitalized AI companies on the planet.
And it underwrites that massive compute build-out regardless of construction delays.
Exactly.
That level of funding immediately brings up the next obvious commercial step, a public offering.
Yes, reports confirmed that OpenAI, alongside other companies like SpaceX and Anthropic, is preparing for an IPO as early as 2026.
And these three deals alone are expected to raise tens of billions of dollars.
Likely more capital than the combined total of about 200 U.S. IPOs last year. It suggests massive institutional investor confidence.
But it's not just about raising capital. It's also about growing the ecosystem that relies on their platform.
That's where the OpenAI Grove program comes in. Applications opened for the second cohort this week.
And this is a highly strategic initiative for platform lock-in, isn't it?
It is. It's a 5-week residency offering about 15 technical founders $50,000 in API credits. By targeting founders at the pre-idea stage, they ensure the next generation of AI startups builds natively on their tech.
They're creating a proprietary pipeline of platform users and advocates.
And their existing commercial momentum shows that strategy is working at enterprise scale.
The week highlighted explosive enterprise adoption, a PwC deal covering 100,000 workers, making them OpenAI's biggest customer to date.
And that's just one example. We also saw a Databricks deal committing at least $100 million. This validates the shift from a consumer novelty to a foundational enterprise technology.
It proves the infrastructure build-out, however difficult, is justified by immediate, massive revenue.
Absolutely.
So what does this all mean for you, the strategic listener? The overarching theme this week is that the company is aggressively investing in actuality.
Right. The physical compute, the legal frameworks, the business structures, all the unglamorous essentials needed for AGI to be a stable, real-world utility.
Not just a flashy chatbot.
And the major shift is away from reactive models that prompt and response loop to proactive, autonomous systems. The app directory and tasks in Pulse are the first steps toward an AI operating system.
One that anticipates and acts on your behalf, often while you sleep.
But the Oracle delay is that sobering reminder. Even with $41 billion, scaling AI is now an infrastructure and construction problem.
It's subject to the same supply chain and logistical limits as any other massive industrial project. The transition to infrastructure giant is not instant.
And this whole deep dive brings us back to that legal scrutiny. The court case granting access to 20 million ChatGPT logs highlights that your conversational data may not be private.
It can be legally compelled as evidence.
So think about that for a second. As OpenAI pushes for its models to be your proactive, always-on, deeply personalized assistant that finally knows you.
The rules around data privacy are actively being rewritten in courtrooms.
So how do you adjust your relationship with that highly personalized AI assistant when you know your private thoughts, shared with it in confidence, might not be private at all?
That's it for this week's Deep Dive. We encourage you to explore the fascinating Alethea paper on cognitive conviction. It's well worth a read. We'll talk to you next time.